So there is an adage that says, if you always know where you are, you'll never be lost. Sounds pretty kind of understated, doesn't it? But actually, it's pretty profound. Navigating in the physical world is pretty straightforward. I mean, today we have all kind of cool things, right? We've had maps for centuries, millennia, compasses. Today we got GPS, we got apps, we got all kinds of ways to help us navigate around in the physical world. And that doesn't matter if you're, in the woods like I am today, or if you're driving your car, trying to figure out where you're going, or maybe you're on a boat, maybe you're flying a plane, or maybe you're just on a bicycle on a new route, right? Lots of ways, lots of tools, lots of things that help us kind of navigate the physical world. But I think the challenge for many people today, while they're adept at technology and navigation devices and methods, maybe not so adept at navigating their inner self. It's interesting, you'll hear a term used called true north. Now, for navigators, people that navigate, there's really two kinds of north. There is magnetic north, which today is somewhere in the Baffin Islands, wherever the Baffin Islands are. I'll look that up for you. But the other one is called true north, and true north is actually where it points to the North Pole. So that's what's called true north. And the difference between magnetic north and true north is what is called declination, right? So pilots and navigators and ships, people have to deal with that when they're physically navigating. But physical navigation, it's kind of like man's conquered it. What man keeps struggling with, though, is internal navigation. And it kind of comes back to that saying that I used earlier is, if you always know where you are, you'll never get lost. So in the last video, we talked about the journey, the power of the journey, right? And the elements of the journey. So in today's video, really want to talk about how do you navigate the journey? What's your true north? What does that mean to you? So navigating your true north, something we all, I think, really do think about. And we think about it at different stages in our lives and really what it means to us. But before we dig deep into that, I really think it'd be great to tell you a story about navigation, about knowing one's true north, really knowing one's true self, right? So in 1914, a British explorer, kind of on the British explorer kick right now, right? Those guys were tearing it up in the early 20th century in exploration. But a guy by the name of Captain Ernest Shackleton, and he was putting together a third expedition. Kind of rings like back to Mallory, doesn't it? And he was getting ready to sail to the Antarctic. And then they wanted to sail kind of across the South Pole, kind of find a way to get across. And he had a ship by the name of, love the name, Endurance, right? Which was kind of a foreboding thing. So Shackleton put together a brave crew, and they took off and started their expedition. When they got down to Antarctica, they actually got into a place where the ship, Endurance, became landlocked, or ice-locked rather, sorry. And over a period of time, as it got colder, the ship was encased in ice, and eventually the ship was actually crushed by ice. So imagine in 1914, 1915 being on the Antarctic ice cap, and your ship has just been crushed. For most of us, that'd be kind of the end of the deal, right? But as you remember, back then, there was no, SOS beacon. There was no GPS rescue alert. There was none of those things existed. And so really it was up to Shackleton and his men to kind of think about how were they going to self-rescue. And that's an important term to remember, self-rescue. I think as we become more self-aware, we actually get better at self-rescue. And it's okay to ask for help too, though. But self-rescue, that's what they thought about. So they literally stripped the ship of all supplies and put their supplies into the lifeboats, wooden lifeboats, and they start dragging them. And they made their way to Elephant Island, which very remote, and spent a lot of time there. Shackleton knew that if they stayed there, they wouldn't survive. They wouldn't make it. They were living on whatever they could get, right? Seal, blubber, I mean, just literally pretty rough existence. So he decided to take one of the lifeboats, outfit it for sailing, and took 6 men with him out of the 30 roughly crew they had, and they sailed 1,600 nautical miles until they reached land. And then they did a very difficult overland hike, march, whatever, in brutal conditions, and they found help. So they got their men, they got back and they rescued their men, and every person lived. It's a powerful story about navigation, not just physical navigation, striking out in a dinghy for 1,600 nautical miles in the South Atlantic, but also internal navigation, the true north. For Shackleton, it was all about this. You know, the price of his men's lives were the most valuable thing to him. And whatever it took to preserve those lives and get those men home safe, that was what he was going to do. He didn't negotiate. He didn't capitulate. He didn't abdicate. He just led right through it. And I think that's a great story about Shackleton and the Endurance, because really, if you think about it, that's the way we want to navigate. So it's a cool story. Shackleton. Great book, by the way, Endurance. Teach you a lot about when the going really gets rough. So the concept of true north, I think it actually varies for people. Your true north could be your family. It could be God, your relationship with God. It could be your wealth. Could be your education. See, the thing about true north in and of itself doesn't guarantee that it's all the right stuff, right? True north is where you keep realigning and you keep calibrating. So, as I said, could be family, could be a spouse, could be God, could be all those positive things, or it could be some pretty negative things, like your W-2 and your education, and the car you drive, the house you live in, those kinds of things. So the question about true north, I think, gets clouded today. Again, we got all these tools to navigate through the physical world. How do we navigate through the emotional and spiritual world? Well, one thing I know from working with a lot of business owners, you cannot have a bunch of elements that you're trying to focus on. Research shows that people can only focus on 3, 4, 5 things max. And so I think the key to getting clear on what's your true north, get quiet, get a pen, get a piece of paper, think about what's really valuable to you. What is that thing that would endure, right? When all else goes wrong, what remains? You could lose a job. You could lose a house. You could even lose health. So the thing I would propose is the real true north for people are those things that will endure and endure into eternity, really. So I suppose there's no harm in talking about what my true north is. So over time, over years, wisdom is, we talked about wisdom. Wisdom, interesting thing. I think where I'm losing neuroplasticity, maybe I'm gaining wisdom, which is really about experience, right? So for me, my true north, first and foremost, is my God. It's what I believe in. I believe that there is a creator that created us. And I believe that that is our best true north and really helps inform us. Book of Proverbs in the Bible. Amazing body of work about wisdom, right? Rules to live by. I would say second is my family and the people that I love. And I would say third, it's about my integrity in what I do. Doing the best I can at whatever I'm doing and trying to do it in an excellent way. And I would say one other thing, I'll give myself 4. It's just treating people by the golden rule. Trying to treat people the way they want to be treated, with respect, with integrity, and recognizing and acknowledging that we're all made by the same creator, and that is what is valuable, and everyone is valuable. So that's my true north. And when I get mad, and I get lost, and I get tired, and that happens frequently, I must say, I have to remember that all those things that seem to be a problem and seem to be frustrating me, the only thing I can really adjust is me. And so I kind of pull out the app of my life. Sometimes that's the Bible for me. Sometimes it's just quiet time. And I really check and see how far off course am I and what is it going to take for me to get back on course. It's easy to get lost. It's easy to get lost in life, and really what all of us are looking for is just a path to take us to a better place and a place we really need to be. Figure out what's important to you, what's valuable to you, and what is enduring to you and will stand the test of time, regardless of your house, your job, your ego, your reputation. Make it count. Time's short. Peace out.